Good evening and welcome to this calendar special to commemorate the Queen's Silver Jubilee visit to Humberside in Yorkshire. In about half an hour's time, the royal party will set sail from Hull on board the Royal Yacht Britannia 36 hours after arriving on the opposite bank of the Humber at Grimsby. Well, during that time, she's travelled hundreds of miles by Rolls-Royce, Range Rover, train and foot. She's been greeted by hundreds and thousands of people of all ages. The idea behind the Round Britain whistle-stop tour, this is the 6th of the 9 regional trips, was to see and be seen by as many of her subjects as possible, especially those Christopher Robins and Alices who can't go down to see the changing of the guards at Buckingham Palace. It was to be informal, official welcomes, of course, but no speeches. As you'll see, it's been a complete success. The Sun, an exception to the rule, didn't come out to greet the royal party as the Britannia anchored out in the Humber, and the Queen and Duke of Edinburgh entered the Royal Docks Basin aboard the royal barge at 10 in the morning. But plenty of people did. Dockers took time off work to add their welcome as the official party, consisting of the Lord Lieutenant of Humberside, the Earl of Halifax, met their highnesses. Across the locked gates of the royal docks, looking very out of character, bedecked in pink, and into her waiting Rolls-Royce. A Rolls-Royce without, of course, a registration number, Her Majesty's privilege. Her first stop was to be Haverstow in nearby Cleethorpes to open a specially scented garden for the blind. The packed roadsides told of a day she could expect. Not surprising, perhaps, here she received her first bouquet of the day, presented by 8-year-old Caroline Chester, who's partially blind herself. Then, despite the noisy demands, the Queen and Prince Philip headed back to Grimsby to meet leading civic figures and our old friend Austin Mitchell, who's now the town's MP, of course. After the obligatory signing of the Grimsby Borough Council's visitors' book, a chance for the royal party to go on its first walkabout. As was to become a common sight, the Queen and Prince Philip split up to enable them to meet more of the welcomers. Then it was back on the road to head north through Brigg, only an hour after she first stepped afoot ashore at Grimsby. It was to be here at Brigg Recreation Ground that the royal party was to see its first displays. The youngsters performed a pageant on the theme of the famous Brigg Fair of 100 years ago. Looking as if he hasn't a care in the world, Home Secretary Merlin Rees, a nodding acquaintance with the cameraman. And the Duke of Edinburgh looks pretty happy too as he chats amongst a party of young Morris dancers. Then once again it was back on the road to South Yorkshire via Scunthorpe, cheered all the way by an estimated 40,000. The racecourse has seen many favourites, but no fancied runner could have received such a welcome as the royal party. Thousands roared them on as the Range Rovers drove down the finishing straight. Then it was off to a well-earned lunch, stopping and chatting on the way. Because of the enthusiastic welcome by the roadside, the Queen had arrived at Doncaster 50 minutes late, so to save time she skipped 2 courses of her lunch. Or whatever she ate, the crowd kept noisy company below the royal balconies. Perhaps the special ingredient that's made the Queen's tour so successful is that the royal party has been stopping off at places few people have probably even heard of. From Doncaster, they headed to Maltby near Rotherham, where almost every member of the 10,000 population turned out to await the Queen's arrival. As the band played, the crowd waited patiently. Queen, by this time, had received enough flowers to be accommodated in Kensington Gardens. In fact, it seemed at one stage the load was getting too much. And how about this cheeky young lady, Alison Callan? She asked for the Queen's favour and got it, and you can bet she'll be keeping that crown for at least 25 years as well.
Well, it may be dark, dull and dismal today, and also threatening rain, but when you're only 8 years old and you stand a chance of catching a glimpse of the Queen for the very first time, that's not going to worry you at all. There's still well over an hour to go before the Queen actually arrives, but already thousands of children, all armed with their Union Jacks, have arrived at the park, and there are many, many more on the way. This is the rather hectic scene outside the park. Some of the people here have been queuing for more than 5 hours, and as you can see, feeling, as they say, is already running very high indeed.
An estimated 17,000 gathered in Hillsborough Park, but they had to settle for glimpses of the Queen as they circumnavigated the arena in the Royal Range Rover. Then a brief stop, a chat, the wave, and they're on their way again. Cannon Hall, Barnsley, and the balloons are fired to welcome the Queen. And once again, a bit of cheek is rewarded. This young chap ignores the attention of one policeman. He gets an encouraging pat on the head from an official, presents the Queen with a posy, and receives a poser from the Duke. And as he returns, hands in pocket, back to the crowd, the Queen and Duke certainly look amused. A marvellous view, the thousands gathered waiting for a glimpse of the royal couple. Many had been waiting hours, but such was the idea behind the tour, to be seen by as many of her subjects as possible. All would return home rewarded. Just outside Barnsley Station, and every vantage point is taken as the Queen arrives for her first train journey of the day. It's evening, but she's only halfway through her first day's schedule. The 269th West Riding Battery with a 21-gun salute greet the royal party after arriving in Leeds. Yorkshire people are traditionally traditionalists. They've waited a long time, but still it's a marvellous reception. It's late evening now, and the long-serving Lord Lieutenant of West Yorkshire, Brigadier Kenneth Hargreaves, escorts the party to the Civic Hall. Inside, they'll meet civic leaders from throughout West Yorkshire before moving into the banqueting hall. A large crowd was still gathered when the royal party, wined and dined, emerged some 90 minutes later. And then it was off to the nearby town hall, appropriately via King George Approach. On arrival, the royal party entered the Victoria Hall, where its members had the first chance of relaxing, with the Queen and Duke chatting among the groups assembled at the reception. As the crowd waited outside, inside the royal party listened to music performed by the Black Dyke Mills Band, and once again the keynote was informality. Just after 11 o'clock, now over 13 hours after her tour began in Grimsby, and the royal party emerged to depart for the station, still to a rapturous reception. Though the hour was late, the forecourt was again crowded to the maximum to cheer them on the way. The last presentation of the day, a white rose for Yorkshire no less. Then into the royal train for a private signing somewhere between Leeds and Wakefield, and no doubt peace and quiet. So the royal party end a busy day indeed, but a day that was obviously enjoyed by the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. Often officials looked anxiously at their watches, eager to keep up with the schedule, while the royal twosome dallied a little while longer, chatting and waving. But if the welcome they received yesterday was tremendous, they'd seen nothing yet, as you'll see just now. Wakefield Cathedral and the crowds converge around the precinct, and it's to be here at 10 in the morning that the Queen seems to be at her informal best. The weather's poor, but again the response is heartening. The pictures and the posters speak for themselves, but listen out, if you will, for one elderly fan who just can't control her emotions.
Oh, isn't she beautiful? Oh. 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 Oh, she's lovely.
A true royalist. Well, if the welcome she received at Wakefield was anything to go by, the royal party must have anticipated more back at Ellen Road in Leeds. The heavy traffic might have meant chaos on the roads, but it also meant the most enthusiastic welcome so far. A packed Ellen Road, home of Leeds United, had been entertained for some time by the youngsters of the West Riding. But the royal party must have sensed something special as the entourage pulled up outside the stadium. They weren't to be disappointed.
And here they
I was
come,
fortunate. I had a ringside seat.
Was there ever a sight like this at Ellen Road, where the whole crowd is shouting and cheering in one voice? City fathers who feared that the show of flags might appear undignified now have their answer, and this traditional greeting must now be a familiar sight for the royal couple on their Jubilee tour of the country. Well, it's 12 years since the Queen and Prince Philip last visited Leeds, and there's no question that while town hall economies have meant that Jubilee colour is wanting in some quarters, the sheer enthusiasm for the royal couple surpasses anything seen before in the way of royal welcomes to the city. And they take their places in the Royal Range Rover, which is about to drive slowly around the perimeter track, starting from the north end of the field and proceeding in an anti-clockwise direction. Just listen to the crowd. They're going wild with enthusiasm. Was there ever a sight like this at Ellen Road? Thousands and thousands of flags and one voice, all cheering for the royal couple. The last cheer goes up as the royal couple enter the royal car. Which slowly leaves the Ellen Road ground on its way to the Great Yorkshire Show.
Well, from those marvellous scenes at Ellen Road, the royal party moved on to perhaps, deep down inside, the Queen's favourite appointment. The Great Yorkshire Showground at Harrogate, which marked the start of her visit to North Yorkshire. And once again, it was a change of transport for the royal party. After the formal introductions, it was into the main ring for a unique parade of Cleveland horses. They have a special interest for her. 15 years ago, she bought a champion stallion which would otherwise have been exported to South America. Now that stallion has fathered a succession of prime Clevelands, and today's parade was thought to be the finest collection to be seen anywhere in the world.
Some 250 years ago, Gilshaw Katrina, this the most successful show mare of her generation, with more than 20 breed championships to her credit. And then on the far right is her 4-year-old daughter, Littlebeck Marina, this with a filly foal foot.
Next, York, and its historical charm seemed to be enhanced by the presence of royalty. And not surprisingly, history played a prominent part in the proceedings. It started with the Queen arriving at the ancient Micklegate, where she touched the civic sword, the traditional manner for greeting monarchs to the city. Then it was another walkabout, but police and officials kept a much closer watch on the spectators, even though there'd be no bother at all during the visit. 2 lads did manage to get through the cordon, and the Queen repaid their persistence with the tale-telling reward of a brief chat and a smile. And then a police escort back. Well, the Queen started at Humberside, went into South Yorkshire, West Yorkshire and then North Yorkshire, and now it's back to Humberside and Beverley. There, to the sound of the Minster bells, she arrived to the expected welcome. The inside of the Minster probably sounded strangely quiet after almost 2 days of thunderous applause and cheers. The Beverley Minster bells indeed tolled for the near end of the historic 2-day visit. Next stop is Hull, the port of embarkation. For the last time, a walkabout in White Friargate, another pedestrian precinct. After again chatting to members of the enthusiastic followers, the royal party then turned into Trinity House Lane, where outside Trinity House, the Trinity House Brethren gathered along with its pupils. Then the party progressed into the marketplace nearby, where to the voices of the South Church Side Choir, Her Majesty signed, for the final time, the visitors' book. The Royal Britannia, moored in King George's docks, ready for the royal party. A final formality. And eventually, what must be a leg-weary royal couple walk up the gangplank and provide a final friendly wave. And there we are. At this moment, the Royal Yacht Britannia is anchored off Hull. Tonight, the yacht's been the venue for a farewell reception, and in about half an hour, she sets sail for Teesside and Middlesbrough. Well, the Queen has her critics, but surely some must have been silenced by the way she's worked and responded during this Silver Jubilee tour of Humberside and Yorkshire. She wanted as many of her subjects, especially the youngsters, to see her, and there's no doubt they wanted to see her. Good night.